All right, welcome back. We are here for another Peach Pit episode. We've got some more action on the books with week 2 wrapped up for Anderson and our Dalton event here in Georgia. We've got some firsthand perspective now that we've had one of our own group's bunch of teams compete. So we've got some good experience to talk about and kick around. So instead of just watching matches, but yeah, we've then got some exciting Gwinnett preview conversation to talk about. But anything and everything in between, I'm sure we'll cover it. We'll see if we hit anywhere close to our 1 hour episode length last week. But we've been known to ramble. But
Good luck with that.
But before we get started, we have the usual disclaimer. Any views or opinions shared on this show are solely that of the individual contributor and do not reflect the views of Peach Pit, any FRC team, First, Georgia First, South Carolina First, or any of their affiliates and sponsors. So, the idea behind this show is to serve as an FRC talk show that focuses primarily on the Peachtree District. We're going to be talking about a variety of topics, so don't be surprised if you see us drop some hot takes. Welcome back, Thomas. Ultimately, we're hoping to provide some entertaining and engaging discussions. We'll go around and do some host introductions. My name is Kellen. I'm a mentor with Team 1746.
I'm Brian Carlson with 6829 Ignite Robotics. I'm a mentor there.
Hello, I'm Thomas Priego. I'm a mentor with Team 1746.
And I am David Allred, mentor and drive coach of Team 4451 Robots Garage out of Stock Kakalaki.
Awesome. Well, I'm also going to give a shout out to, we got Ian behind the scenes here doing some production work. So very appreciative of his efforts to make this whole thing happen, as well as any of our other hosts that are busy elsewhere tonight. And hopefully we'll get them on the show sometime sooner than later. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into some review of this week 2, this past weekend for the Anderson event, and with some firsthand experience and some other exciting news. I'll kick it over to David Allred.
Yes, greetings from the Anderson event, our very first South Carolina district event at the Anderson Civic Center. The event went very well. I was on the committee and I set up the field and tore down the field and in between drive coached. And what was interesting about this is, you're kind of wary of line dances, where, oh my gosh, there's a field breakdown. We got the line dances hanging out. The only line dance we had was Sunday when we were 20 minutes ahead of schedule. And a team decided that they couldn't get there quite in time. They needed to repair. And of course, you can't run ahead of schedule and deny somebody to work on the robot. So we had our YMCA line dance and waited for them to finish and got out there. But we still finished well ahead of schedule. So I think the field and the FMS works pretty good. So at the Anderson event, there were 27 teams competing this time, and including 3 from Georgia and 1 South Carolina rookie. Interesting note here is all 3 Georgia teams made the playoffs, including a very strong performance from 4189 the Chargers as the number 2 Alliance captain. They spent most of the event in the number 1 spot, and our team was able to squeak it out and jump them kind of at the last minute there on Sunday to get that number 1 spot. But they were the number 1 person for quite a while, and they made a pretty decent run the whole event. Couple other notes is the alliances ended up winning was Alliance 1 that swept the competition through the field. My team 4451 was Alliance captain. Our first pick 1102 Making Magic was our out of Aiken, and then 6961 the Cybots were our second pick as our defender balancer guy. And the Cybots, that was not only their first time in playoffs, right? It was their first win, but also their first time ever playing in playoffs. So this is a full South Carolina alliance. That's never happened before. And so, ta-da, to districts, we got it done. On the other side of the glass was a surprise appearance of the number 7 alliance, which blasted their way through the competition and took out the number 2 and 3 alliance along the way. And that was captained by 3490 Viper Drive and 1051 the Technical Terminators and 3091 100 Scholars out of Atlanta, I believe they are.
Mm-hmm.
And so they put up quite a fight, but we took it in 2 matches. Let me see the scores. Hang on. The score is it's 120 to 93 and 117 to 94. During the playoff runs, there was mainly a mix of either leaving each other alone and just trying to see if we could outscore each other. And in some matches, there was a bit of a mosh pit in the midfield and defense. It just kind of depended on what the alliances wanted to do. There were some alliances that threw up defense against us in the midfield. And I will tell you that you need to caution yourself on pushing people around the field. We got a, whatever it is, G201 or 207, whichever one it is, where we push somebody across the field into our zone. I was the coach and I told them to push. I just didn't realize we pushed them that far. And so we were penalized for the pushing them too far into our zone. But it's nonetheless, depends on kind of the alliance strategy you would like to take. A couple other notes here. We have our Impact Award winner was 3489 Category 5. And their game was they have a very strong program to support the different levels of first in South Carolina down in the Low Country. The keynotes they had was they have supported 33 FLL events, 5 FTC events, and 3 FRC events recently. They've also mentored or supported 21 different first level teams in the Low Country. I'm assuming most of that would be FLL. They've also kicked off a project they call Project Tropical Storm, because a lot of schools don't have access to like First Lego League. So they got a grant to get 64 FLL class packs put together and put them in 6 different schools, and then provided support to those schools to make sure they were successful implementing FLL programs. In addition to that, they decided to build a STEM on the go trailer to take their demo bot and STEM kits to students in the area that were maybe not being the first programs, to kind of spread the word of STEM in their community. So they have a very strong program. So it's too late to evacuate Peachtree. Category 5 is coming with the Impact Award to district champs. The Engineering Inspiration Award went to a second-year team, 85-75, the Due Westerners out of Due West, which is, I'll say it's a very rural area, but they have a group that is putting together a STEM center, and they have a board of directors that are putting together, and they're going to build a building and have all their programs housed out of that. The Due Westerners FRC team came from their previous FLL and FTC program. So now they have graduated onto FRC. And last but not least, we had our rookie 9315, the Coding Comets, which is a community team out of the Columbia area, win the the Rookie Inspiration Award. And I just love their name, the Coding Comets. You have any guys have any questions for me about how the game is played, or?
I unfortunately didn't get to catch much for match footage, but out of curiosity, was there any? I'd seen the balancing numbers seemed up for the event.
Oh, yes.
And then my other question was going to be, was there much for triple balancing either in quals or elims?
Yes. Oh, great question. I'm sorry. So yeah, The auto balance ended up being way more prevalent than I thought it would be. Right? I think it was over 40%, 41% of the opportunities had an auto balance. We were one of those teams. 4189 was one of those teams that was super consistent in the auto balance, and then there was several teams that finished writing their auto balance routines at the competition using the real bridge. So I set up the practice field myself, and I made sure that we had the lines taped out so that they would know how far the drive through in the autonomous, so they could practice autonomous in the practice field. A lot of teams got it running. Triple balance. I shied away from it at first just to make sure we got the rank point, but there were a lot of teams that triple balance quite a bit. 1319 Flash did it probably 3 to 4 qualification matches. We did it with them in one of their qualification match. We had all 3 up there, and then one of the drivers set down their controller in the middle, right? The guy in the middle, he set down his controller. He must have bumped the controls, and they rolled right off at the last second. I was like, So we had all 3 up there. The guy in the middle just drove right off. But yeah, it's possible. It's sloppy. We did it once in the playoffs. We tried it 4 times and completed it once. And a couple times we got kind of jammed up with our bumpers together. It couldn't quite fit on. Our third partner had a cutout in the side of their bumper, and I think Making Magic kind of got wedged in there, and they couldn't quite get up the hill. So they just backed off and we double balanced. Gotcha. But it's possible.
It seems like
you're doing triple balance, or when you saw triple balancing, were they going up all at one time, or 1 first and 2 follow?
Pretty much in every case, everybody came from the outside in, because again, there was only 4 swerve drives there out of 2017s. So most people lined up outside in the center of the field and drove in. So to be successful, they kind of all lined up first, and then somebody started to push down the bridge, and then they all kind of went up together.
Okay.
We pushed down the bridge, us and our second pick, and then 1102 came around late. They scored and then swung around with their swerve and then came up last. But we had the bridge tilted down when they came up. That makes sense? So you don't want to like sit there with 2 robots up there and have a third guy climb on.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like you all had at least a little bit of breathing room to not have to risk it for going for the triple balance, which I think I'm excited for any later in the effort in the Peachtree season when
it's going to be necessary later.
Exactly. Yeah. For the margins being thin enough that's going to be the difference maker, that if things are tight enough on the grid, that's where you got to get your points.
Yeah. So a couple other points here. So we had our drop down pods, which we added to our robot, which I put revealed on reveal night, and those work pretty good. We could hang a set of wheels off the side so we could slide over to make room for everybody. So it wasn't necessarily a room problem for us. It was just getting everything coordinated and making sure you had enough time to finish the task. Also, you want to make sure that you only have one person moving, please, when you balance. Just kind of everybody get up there, and then one person finish.
Yeah.
You don't want to have everybody trying to adjust. So you need to tell that to your alliance partners ahead of time, that y'all get up there and hold it the best you can and we will finish the balancing. Whether it's double or triple. Some teams preferred one robot, like in qualifications, we were just double balancing. They preferred one robot up there, and then they push the bridge down themselves to get up and balance, because it's more stable if you have more weight on the bridge. It just, it balances easier. If that makes sense. Yeah. Assuming that one robot can stick.
Yeah.
Right. Ours has brake mode, so we can get up there and just kind of sit, which I highly recommend if you don't do. I highly recommend brake modes for your drivetrains. I don't know what you do with the swerves. I guess they just turn their wheel. But for the tank drives, you want brake mode.
Yeah, that's something I've really noticed. A lot of teams where at the end of matches, they'll be unbalanced and they'll get disabled, and all the teams just roll off. So I think that is something that is very important, is that teams do put their motors in brake mode so they don't end up being stranded or losing out on points and ranking points at the end of matches.
Yeah, we tested that in our shop. We put it in brake mode and just disabled and watched it roll back. It took 10 seconds, 15 seconds off with brake mode.
Mhm.
So you definitely want that. So we drive around in coast mode, and then we have a button, just literally the B button, brake mode, right? And it or balance mode, which turns it into brakes at the end of the game.
So now that you've been through your first district event, what was the feeling from the different teams in your experience? How it was different compared to the regionals you're used to?
Well, I asked that to a lot of teams because standing in the queuing line, I asked how it's going, and because I don't just talk strategy, I'll talk to the teams behind me, in front of me, whatever. The pace of play is just unprecedented for these people. There was one coach that was like, "Oh, this is too fast." We're playing every 3 and 4 matches, and our queuing people were really helping there because they were saying it's time to queue. I just came off the field.
Yeah, they move quick.
So I think that overwhelmed a lot of people. The number of plays and the rapid pace of it was overwhelming to some. I was expecting it, but still, it felt fast.
How did you enjoy the new Auton format, or not Auton, the new playoffs format? Do you think it is definitely different? Do you think it's an improvement to the previous system, or do you think it's how much getting used to will it take?
I loved it. So now some people the format's probably confusing to some people, but I've studied the format. I knew kind of what to expect. I had this little grid map of where you go. We have great graphics that explains it to the audience and to actually the teams themselves. And so I really enjoyed it because you play one team and then you play another and then you play another, and you might see them. We saw the number 7 alliance, whatever it was, that would be match 12. They went to 13, won that, and then made it to finals again. So we played them 3 times. But otherwise, we were playing different people. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think what's exciting is you no longer have the issue of, the 2 best alliances are meeting in semis, of the 2 best alliances are almost guaranteed to meet in finals, because you're given, even if you do meet early, you're given that second chance to face each other off again in finals. So I do think it is an improvement, like you said.
And obviously a brilliant move to interlace the award ceremony with the 15-minute timeouts. It was just seamless. It just flowed right through. I loved it.
Yeah, in the past, for just getting I don't know if you got the usual turnaround time, and then give you at least a couple minutes, even if a team didn't use a timeout. But I think that was still only 8 minutes.
Yeah, your 6-minute timeout was really only 2.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of, especially if you're playing 3 finals matches after already playing quarterfinals and semifinals, that was just brutal for having that kind of a turnaround time for a robot that's either on its last legs or just holding things together.
It was much less stressful because I didn't have to watch the clock and look at the guy and say, do I need to call a timeout and run it back and forth? I knew the game, and you could make the call on the backup robot, 2 minutes left to go. You could just call the backup in if you needed to, because that's the only decision you're making.
Yeah, sounds like a good all-around decision for the team experience.
Mm-hmm.
So when they did the rewards in between matches, did the whole team come down, or how did that work with the drive team potentially in queue for the next elim match?
It worked fairly well. We had the whole teams come down. We had enough room, but we had an aisle between, for the stands, an aisle, pipe and drape, and then the field. So they didn't come on the field. They just ran in front of the field, where the queuing area, where the load-in area is, if you want to call it that. So we just took a little section of pipe and drape out, and they just walked through around in front of the field. So if a team was in queue, they just, met their team on the way. It was easy. Worked well. So they didn't like it wasn't small enough where we said you can only send 2 people down and that kind of thing. It was the full. So you didn't have to like get all the way through finals and then sit down and go through all those awards. It was much better flow.
That, and I think you have everybody's attention for it instead of like,
Right,
we're all itching to get out of here. Or...
Right. We know who the winners are. We don't care about
I as a mentor, I know this is probably frowned upon, but I would leave early. We lost in semis. I'm just
packing
gonna.
up.
I have class the next day. I'm just gonna go home.
This predates you on 1746, but the original teacher I worked with when I first started with the team in 2013 is immediately whenever we lost out in elims, it was all right, pack up, we're out of here. I was like, there's some chance we win an award. You're just walking away without. But it was an interesting shift to like get used to hanging around for the rest of elims and then the award ceremonies.
Yeah, it was really good flow. Loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, like I thought, it's more like coaching in qualifications. It's more like coaching a playoff match where you have to coordinate a lot more activity than you would normally do. Usually, I'm coordinating traffic patterns, but there's so many choke points in other words, the best defender is your own alliance partners.
Mm-hmm.
Beware of that.
That's always been the case. I don't know what fantasy world you've been living in.
That was a big wide. I mean, they had the thing in the center, but you can get around that guy. Just don't get on. Last year was just don't park on the side walls and you're fine. This year it's don't park in the scoring area.
Score fast.
Score fast, but score fast. Yeah. Yeah. So drop it in the hybrid and run. But which we did. We played a couple matches that way, by the way. I had a couple match strategies that said, let's just fill up the bottom and then work up. Let's see what happens. That was fun. Try one of those.
But yeah, I think it's a lot of awesome things we're hearing out of this Anderson event for South Carolina teams getting their first real exposure to the district system. One weird thing I heard from you and had no expectation of this or was not aware of it, but that South Carolina apparently ran practice matches.
Yes, we did. We had
now, Georgia first treats us nice, but there's a little bit of envy going on over here.
Yeah, we had 10 practice matches that night. Inspection night. I think we got the normal kind of 65-70% of the teams through inspection that first night, and just had several more to clean up before the competition the next day. That's normal, I guess. And we had practice matches. So
was it a generated schedule, or was it just kind of pre-fill?
We generated a schedule, but we weren't really strict on you have to be inspected to show up.
Gotcha.
To your non-scheduled match, you can make it out there, get out there.
But yeah, I know I think the general struggle on the Georgia First side is just getting in the venue early enough to get the field set up.
Yeah, we had rented the venue all week, so we could get in there anytime we wanted.
But to have practice matches, yes.
That was nice. And it helped the refs, right? They never ref the game.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, lots of good stuff there. All right. I guess we'll come back to any Anderson points here and there if we stumble upon them on the way. But we're going to move on to some Dalton review. Thomas, I know you were up there for at least the one day, and you want to tell us a little bit about what you saw.
Dalton ended up being, I think, honestly, being a weaker event than Albany. It was, from while I was there, it was very much of that. There was Walton, and then there was everyone else. I mean, we definitely did see that in elims of Walton just mopping the floor with, it was a field day. Whereas at the Albany event, there was at least a couple teams that could fight for that top spot. And once they really dominate, once they got solidified as a 1 seed, everything just kind of fell into place as it went. 6340 ended up proving themselves as a really good, very capable number 2 bot for them to work with. And then from there, Elam's ended up going exactly as you'd expect, with the limited exception of, I'm sorry, I had the Blue Alliance broke. With the one thing of 1 versus 1 versus 7 ended up happening again. Except 2 made it all the way to the I guess it'd be the loser bracket finals. There was a 1 deny during alliance selection by 7104. Due to, from what my understanding is, there was a misunderstanding of the alliance selection rules. Teams do remember, if you say no and you're not in position to be an alliance captain, you cannot be picked for the remainder of the event. But other than that, it was a pretty locked standard event. I was only there for Friday, and was only able to get a good look at a couple teams. But from what I saw, it was very much Walton's event to lose.
Yeah, what was interesting, I was looking at it, is a lot of times the 8th seed will usually be around that 16 ranking point mark. And right now the 8th seed at Dalton had 16, but the interesting thing is they got there with 4 basically balance RPs. And so there was a lot of balancing going on there. So normally I would expect in the week 2 range, you'd be like 23 to 25 ranking points, and Walton coming away with 33, and Maris Manatees 6340 coming at 27 ranking points. There was a lot of balance RPs. We'll see if we can start getting some of those link RPs coming up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, I think, to see when teams start getting anywhere closer on that front. And I think this is kind of a pick and place game, makes it a lot easier, or a lot more difficult for teams to kind of really get a grasp of the game and improve from there. But I think we'll see teams start to figure it out. But yeah, that link RP is really going to change this game up when we start getting some stronger alliances. Again, I'm curious for district champs when we do get there, with it being a full 50 teams. That'll be the 50 best teams in the state, largely.
The state, Kellen. It's the district now. We've got 2 states. Come on.
States.
States. Yeah, there's an S on there. It's
Yeah.
not apostrophe S, it's plural.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it'll be at a new twist to the game when teams start figuring out. I think it's particularly interesting is that, very similar to some past games, is that you don't at all need to score high or even mid in this game to really put a big impact on getting that RP. So if you can fill up that hybrid row, that's a huge contribution to getting your alliance's links taken care of.
Yeah.
It was also interesting. I think Dalton is another reflection on getting your drivers experience. Maris Manatees were definitely taking advantage of Walton's field a lot early and getting a lot of practice. And I would expect that one contributed a lot to them doing so well, coming in the second spot with, going 10-2 with 27 ranking points. So the other thing that I saw at Dalton, and I think it happened at Anderson, is be careful playing defense, because it's very easy when everybody's got these tall things that stick out to go inside people's frame perimeters. And so when you start going bumpers to bumpers, be aware of where your intake's at.
Yeah, I know we had any joking conversation at our shop today, for not that it's an entire joke, but I know we had some issues last year with intakes coming into our frame perimeter, but just the idea of printing some flimsy, just really crunchy 3D printed fingers sticking up along the just above the bumper, just to be able to show the head ref after the match to say, they came into our robot, this is the proof. But
We wouldn't be the first team in the district to do that. 1771 last year made the very intentional decision to have their sponsor panels be breakaway panels. So if teams went into their robot, they would be broken immediately. So because they had issues where wires were getting pulled.
Yeah, that was in response to them being damaged and not having referees being able to realize they've been damaged, even though they didn't die on the spot, but they lost major functionality, is I think what happened.
Right.
yeah,
So,
and
it
if I
wasn't a
remember, I
strategy,
think
it was more of a defensive thing.
and I think Jan even one of our Georgia head referees specifically told teams like, hey, if you put this on there, then point it out to us. That it really helps us to know that somebody actually came into your robot instead of you just pointing and yelling.
But pointing and yelling is fun, Kellen.
Oh, fun for some people, maybe not others. But
Yeah.
But yeah, anything else? I think I did note, and I saw some mentor conversation around this for a red card that had popped up I think it wanted to be a yellow card, but I think I'd caught this as I was watching the finals happen at Dalton. That I think I'm not even sure where he was, or if he was like a technician or what the case was, but one of the students on the Blue Alliance, I think, had come like field side, standing right next to the referee, and was essentially like hand waving the drivers like forward, backward, forward, just trying to get them to help balance on the charge platform. But you could see the ref like, you got to get out of here.
So it wasn't the communication; it was just the position he was at.
Yeah, he was way outside of the human player zone. I don't think he was a human player because he would have been on the opposite side of the field. So it was. I'm not sure exactly what drive team position he had, if any, but it was certainly somewhere he wasn't supposed to be. But
Yeah, and some additional notes for the awards at the Dalton event. The Impact Award went to Team 1648. I believe the Midtown Robotics, formerly known as G3 Robotics.
Okay.
The Engineering Inspiration Award was given to Team 7451. The Avenger Robotics out of the Alliance Academy for Innovation in Forsyth County. And they were last year's statewide chairman's winner. And there was no rookie awards given out at this event.
which I think is interesting to note, because I think you had just prompted asking about the Anderson event, but it looks like we've got then.
There were no rookies at the Dalton event. So
Well, that'll do it.
That's a slightly different spin on the.
But there's only ever going to be one rookie all-star at an event, so that means we're at a max of 5 for the district for leading into district champs. Just that two events did not award rookie all-star awards. So,
yep, it is. If I remember correctly, rookie all-stars the only award that the judges don't have to give out if they don't think a team is worthy of getting it. Correct?
That's correct.
I think so.
Yes, that's correct.
But yeah, interesting notes as we move forward. I know there's two Houston slots kind of tagged for those rookie all-stars, so
Right.
Interesting to see where that goes throughout the season for potentially taking 2 slots instead of just 1. But let's see, any other notes on our week 2 competition?
No. Though I do want to point out right now, ads for the district point rankings district-wide, they finally got the Albany district points corrected in the Blue Alliance. Right now, 1683 is the number 1 team in the district with 76 points, followed closely by Walton, Robots Garage, and the Commodores, each with 73 as tied for second. Just so teams know where other teams are at. And please do be constantly looking at those. They get really important, especially once States and Worlds starts coming around.
So remind me for the South Carolina people, what's a good number each event to make the cut to get the district champs?
If
Like
I
35 or so? Or?
about
So-
35 or so.
Well, no, in 20 It's low 40s. Basically, last time we had this many teams, 46 made it with 45 teams. So if we looked at right around 40. So if you get about 20, as long as you make it to, if you make it to playoffs and you win it, you advance. Well, actually, I can't even say that anymore since it's not best out of 3. Yeah, you're looking, if you can get 15 to 20 points each and then grab an award.
Each event, not total. Each. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So you want to get into the above 40 to 50 range total then, right?
Yeah.
That's to get to
40.
Worlds. Looking
To
at
states or
no,
districts.
Districts.
to districts.
You made it now.
Well, 56-51 in 2019, the comparable year, made it with 24 and 23. So you generally want to have about those 40-ish points going into states. What if you get right now looking at it, from just general feeling, if you're above 49 points, you're probably already in state.
May as well earn a few more while you're at it, just to make sure.
Yeah. Well, that's where to get to. This was brought up in the mental roundtable of how many you need to get to Worlds. You do want to be making. The threads just disappeared.
190, 200 around there.
Yeah. And that is depending on how awards double up. Based on if the team wins an event and wins chairman's, how does that look? But it is you do want to be chasing that 190 number.
But yeah, so it's important to rack up as many points as you can during your 2 districts.
So,
but the other important note then is that district points are tripled at district champs. So that's really where things can swing quite a bit, especially for teams like any third bot on a winning alliance is going to really scoop up a lot of points. Obviously, the winning alliance winds up getting their tickets punched. But yeah, the further you can get at district champs or seed at the district championship level, the more of a jump you can make in comparison to the field.
Yeah, just for Anderson isn't fully updated as far as the district points. Well, Dalton is.
No, Anderson is.
Anderson is.
I'm looking at it right now. Anderson is.
Yeah, fine.
Hold on.
Yeah, 44-51 got 73. 1102 got 69.
All right, so there you go. All right, so if you look at the same thing hold true. I was looking. I don't know, maybe it was Albany I was looking at, but anyway, it holds true for both Anderson and Dalton. The top 18 teams got 25 points or more, right? So that's the majority of the field did well enough. Now, if they do that performance again, will more than likely get to district champs.
Okay. Gotcha. So you probably, maybe this year you want to be pushing towards that 50 mark.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
And again,
I appreciate that insight for our South Carolina people that are watching this event, because they're new to it still, including me.
And what's important to note is, though we're throwing out numbers here, that line can go up and can go down depending on how teams go at their second and first and second events. There is a large portion of the Georgia heavy hitters that have yet to play. So that number can, if all of a sudden stuff just goes crazy, that number can and most likely will change.
If you want to go with the heavy hitters, as you say, they still get the same amount of points as they would over there, because everybody doesn't get 70 points all of a sudden, right? Somebody, at Gwinnett, it's like you're still going to get some people getting 25 points where they would expect to get more elsewhere, so they don't get extra points.
You're right there.
Yeah,
and then a lot of the Gwinnett replays again 2 weeks later, so
Macon.
It could be hard for them to make up points.
Mhm.
Right. And I think that was a point you made earlier, Thomas, when we started this, when I started on this group here, that, the strength of the event, the points aren't different, but the strength of the event could be different,
Yeah.
which might
Um,
make somebody that was in the mid pack, if they were at another event, they could have advanced, and they didn't advance because they were at a stronger event.
Yeah.
That's definitely the case every year. Where one team, if they had gone to 2 other events, would have made it to state easily, but because they went to an event with different team load,
Right.
it all ended up being
Well, and the same goes with going to Worlds, right?
yeah.
It ripples on down. There's Walton's set up at a first good event with points, Maris Manatees, and all those are really set up well. And there could be some teams at Gwinnett that are going to be like, not where we want to be. We're going to have to do a lot better our next event to start pushing towards states towards worlds. So.
But what's crazy is a lot of those Gwinnett teams that they're going, I got to do that second event real well. We're going against the exact same teams we saw in the first event. So going into this Gwinnett preview, a lot of, we alluded to the heavy hitters before, but a lot of teams that we're going to be seeing.
That's your phrasing, not mine.
That's my phrasing, not Brian's. But a lot of the teams that we can expect to do well, that will be there. It's a long list, so bear with me. We have 1261, 1414, 1261 the Robo Lions, 1414 IHOT, 1683 the Techno Titans, who just won the Albany event, 1746 Auto, 1771 North Gwinnett Robotics, who mopped the floor with the district last year. 4188, the finalists from the Albany event. 4509, the other finalists. 6829, who was finalist at Albany and semifinalist at state last year. 8736, the Mechanisms, who won 2 events last year. So this event is locked and loaded with a lot of potential for craziness, and especially in elims.
Yeah, it should be exciting in limbs then, because we had some pretty tight limb matches at Anderson that were just, it's exciting to see. Are they going to make that balance? And because that's going to throw the whole thing. Or do they put that last thing on to get that link, that points plus the 5 right at the last second? It can make for some exciting endings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think I think interesting part here is how many of these teams that are playing for the first time are in fact coming ready to play the game. and I say this not with an accusatory tone towards any of the other teams, but more of a finger pointing right back at ourselves, knowing that we've got some work to do. So.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be speaking to Christopher Wilson over the weekend and with 1771, and we both came to the realization there's either going to be a lot of really cool robots running and gunning, or there's going to be some really cool defense spots, just from the state of where a lot of teams are at currently in the district.
Yeah, I think we've made any routine out of starting real shaky and then figuring it out by the end of quals and making a good elims run. But it seems like there are a few others catching on to that strategy.
Yeah.
And to those teams who are catching on, listen here close. If you want to give your mentors heart attacks, you are on the right track.
Yeah, not recommended. Don't know what you were thinking.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. I know like IHOT and 1771 North Gwinnett shows some very aggressive designs. I know 1771 executed really well last year and did really well at Worlds, and I think they're trying to build on those successes. They have the chops to pull it off. They may need a little more time. So I think that's one of the teams that if they struggle, they could be a totally different bot when they get to the next event. So a lot of the teams, I think, going to Gwinnett are going to hit a mark, right, and maybe get a little bit better. But I think 1771's one of them, 2974. Matter of fact, I don't think they had very much, if any, automation, and they're doing 6 and 7 during teleop. But it'd be interesting to see if, like in 2019, where teams sort of plateaued at their performance, and then there's this one bot that sort of and then I'll starting 13 and 14 by the end of the states. Kellen and Thomas, right? That year, you guys really lifted it up, and so that's gonna be the challenges. Can you really go beyond just getting one more cycle as the game advances?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So warning to the first time players. Usually, you're getting out there, getting your feet wet, if you will, in the first matches, and so you're kind of focusing on your robot and where you are. But the problem with this game is, like I said, your own partners are in your way. And so in a lot of cases, you might be looking over here and all of a sudden you're looking at the scoring, and then you got to go to the loading zone and you're going, they're at the single station. That's where I need to be. And then what game piece are you going to get, a cube or a cone? And you're trying to communicate, so it's going to take a little bit of time to build up this rapport that says, I'm going to take the bump side, or I'm going to take the non-bump side, or I'm going to go over the thing, and just get traffic patterns understood so that you don't have to focus on that part while you're still trying to focus on your robot and how you're performing.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
And speaking to the trying to figure out what game piece you want to get dropped, something stupid simple that I found really cool that I saw Walton doing, and a lot of other people I saw, watching the web stream, their drive coach had just 2 laminated pieces of construction paper. One of them was yellow, one of them was purple, and they just hold it up, and that was the game piece that was going to get dropped, and it worked. I just watching them both in person on the stream, how seamless it just was. Yellow, purple, yellow, purple. It was quite impressive.
Yeah. I did a similar thing. I just didn't want to hold anything, so I just cone, cube.
Yeah.
Cone. So and I didn't have to hold anything or drop paper to go look at it. So it was much simpler for me, and it took a while for me to get in rhythm with my human player, but that worked great. Yeah,
our coach was doing the triangle for cone, and he like a field goal for cube.
Yeah, I just use one arm. So
yeah, we got the addressability of these, but haven't gotten them on the robot yet for having to be able to flash at the human player.
Yeah, we're going to do that too. But also, you're coordinating. If 2 people are using the SAP station, you can only have one person at a time physically. So either you got to teach your person to load their robot, or vice versa, or be able to swap out real quick. So there's just like a million little coordination points that you just got to get used to. That's not something that I've been used to in the previous games in the recent years. Like last year, ball on floor, it's near you, pick it up, shoot it. This year, no, it's like everybody came from the same game piece. Everybody came for the same loading station. Everybody came for the same node. You've got to coordinate a lot more. So keep your game plan simple, especially at first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things that I heard, I'm not sure, Thomas, you mentioned this or somebody else did, that Walton did, is they had a piece of paper with a 3x9 grid, and their coach was, as a scorer, they were scoring their grid as people placed, so they knew where to go to next without having to keep having to look down.
Yeah, that was if I think the biggest thing and the best thing takeaway from going to Dalton is of just being there in person is seeing how Walton ran their drive team. I immediately, once we got back, went to their shop and was like, guys, these are some really easy, simple things that why don't we copy this? If someone's already found a good solution, just use the good solution. So it is remarkably simple, and I think Walton should really be proud how they've organized themselves.
It throws me back to our 2017. I think it was at Columbus. I think in Elims. I don't know if it was no. It was definitely it was the quals that we had an issue, and this was the same case where the human player was on the other side of the field, but that we needed one more gear to finish the fourth rotor, and the human player on the other side of the field had the gear in their hand that we went to go get it, but they thought they knew better and said, "Oh well, there's only 25 seconds left on the clock. You guys need to be climbing." So he sits there with the gear in his hand while our robot's right in front of him, just waving at us to go climb. I'm like, "Give us the gear."
And that's why we didn't seed first at that event. Reese, I'm looking at you.
So some chuckles had, and the human player was told that, all right, you're not the brains of the operation. You just need to be the one giving us what we needed when we come for it. So, but I think it's very similar this year to be, as has been mentioned, for practice, communicate, be fluid about it, and talk to your alliance partners about what you're planning on doing, so they know what to plan around.
Yeah, because of the rapid turnaround, I could tell quite a bit of a performance improvement for a lot of the teams. The usual suspects in the state got way better as the event went on. Better cycling, better, smoother communication with the human players, and maybe a little bit better communication with their partners. But everybody got smoother as they played this game, because this is a chess match a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's also I think it came out of week 2 was we saw 2 bots sort of starting to separate in the district. Walton did really well, and looks like they're going to be even stronger. And then 1102 was also, so it's like we're going to start seeing that, and play your game, but also see where the game's going and try to keep up with it.
So people that maybe look at stats or OPR stats, 1102 had to work through a few kinks, but they're the real deal. They had a triple cube autonomous in playoffs. Yeah. And they did 2.9 in a couple of matches, and they did 3 in a couple of matches. The 2.9 was there right there, and it just didn't finish, and they teleop, they just went boop. So they basically have a 3 cube autonomous already working.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to bring to Hartsville, but it's pretty damn scary already.
Just make sure you seed first again. So that's...
No. So this time it was who's going to seed first to pick them.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's going to be when they seed first, who they're going to pick. So I'm going to be flipping hats.
Yeah.
So
a lot of teams in Peachtree were familiar when 1102 came over, and for the 2 or 3 years they were here, were really strong and a top contender, and they're back at it again.
Right. So also, I was really, really happy about 1287 in our state, the aluminum assault. They brought a really, really good robot, probably the best machine I've ever seen them make. And then you've got the other people right behind them. There's a whole pack of teams that will prove quite a bit, because this is the first time a lot of these teams will play 2 events, guys. And so they're going to be coming gunning at district champ. These people are. Where normally they might be one and done, or, we get lost in the pack at a large regional.
Well, and I'm sure it's the case where the majority of South Carolina teams that are attending district champs are going to be playing 3 events for the first time in their team's history for a lot of them.
Yes.
But the thing is, they'll feel like they're regional, like they're used to.
Yeah. I mean, so district champs will be like, whatever.
50 teams, you get the match turnaround time back to a reasonable number, and
50 teams is nothing. We're used to 65.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think another interesting thing looking at this Gwinnett team list is that I know it's easy to pick out like these teams have been the top tier for the last couple of years. But if you were to ask me right now who my picks were for winning this event, I think having proven something, it means a lot in this game. To have shown off a functioning robot that's capable of putting up game pieces. So if you were to ask me for a favorite right now, 1683 would. And sorry to use the 1683 mentors out there again for inflating any egos, but y'all again have a good robot. I think a couple other robots you're looking at, or I think 4509. I'm interested in seeing how they've improved since their week 1 showing. But what the other? Who am I missing? There was somebody
4188.
4188, I think, is still in that wild card territory. I think they were getting things a little bit more together by the end of Albany, but I think they still have a lot to prove. There was one other. Who am I missing? But yeah, 1683. Oh, the other one I was thinking of was Ignite, just because I've seen them in some either at DE or some footage of it, just to see that they've got a robot together. And they've got their game plan figured out. So that would be another robot I'd put up there just for seeing a tried and true effort instead of these wild card teams out there. And I count ourselves amongst those wild cards. So hopefully we can pull something off. But it'll be interesting. But I think there's a lot to be said for the teams that have actually proven that they can play this game at a good level. But yeah, like we've been talking about, I think it'll be super interesting then comparing this event to Mercer a couple weeks later, how different teams look.
I think we
Commodores comes in at Mercer, don't they?
Yeah, they swap out. We get 1683 for this event, and then we get their partner in crime for the Albany Win Air 6919 in their stead at Mercer.
Another solid robot, yeah.
Yeah. But I think we've been doing this for a little over our hour goal. So, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
We'll give a thumbs up, thumbs down. Do we see a link or a sustainability RP? I think is the technical term for it, but a link-based RP at Gwinnett. Do we see it?
Yes. I'm not. You're not going to see like 5 or 6. But
you'll see a couple.
I think you'll see 2 to 4, 2 to 5.
But I'm going to point out here that it's not because the robots are going to be any better, but it's because the teams are going to start figuring out, like, all right, we're going to score links very intentionally for either scoring them hybrid or scoring one up high. But I think that's going to be largely the case, is we're going to see teams scoring with more intent on those RPs.
So if you want to play with your robot, that's one thing. If you want to do the links, have both sides do everything low, and you'll get it.
Mm-hmm.
We built the low thing up a couple times, but the other side was doing their thing, placing a couple things high.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they place 3 in the middle.
If you just
3 in the middle, then do what you want, right?
Here's the pro tip: if both sides fill up the low, you got it. If you just want to get some rank points, done.
That's only 3 of your 4 links, though.
Well, it doesn't take much to get the 4th.
Okay.
I think if you have an intake that never leaves your frame perimeter, right? I think you can go and score their hybrid row as long as you don't touch any robots while you're in there.
No, that's still a penalty, Kellen.
Why do you say that?
You cannot extend past your frame perimeter.
That's exactly my pre-qualification is
Yes.
if your intake doesn't break your frame perimeter.
Oh, yeah, that's allowed. So they might ding you with the don't throw a match rule.
No, you're still planning on winning. You're just trying to get a ranking point out of it.
At that point, it's just easier to score 3.3 more.
Trust me, it goes too fast.
You know what? I think somebody pointed out that out when this idea came up previously, that just score another one for your own alliance.
Well, but you're going to want that 3 in the middle grid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't do that, getting 5, I don't think we'll see a 5.
No, I think the closest that we've seen in Georgia is Walton. I think in their last or second to last quals match was 1 game piece away that they had, and their robot attempted to score and just missed. And that was just with 3 going to 4. So I definitely think we won't see 5 until maybe Macon, and if not that states.
Yeah, because you're dependent on stars aligning for your match schedule, having a quality alliance partner to pull off 5. Yeah, otherwise that hopefully we'll see if the depth of the event at district champs at least would be enough to more routinely pull off getting 5 links.
Yeah.
Any while we're at it, I guess any interesting notes for things you've seen outside of PCH this season so far? Any notes you've got jotted down?
I saw a team in Israel score 313 points for another alliance. Other than that, I haven't been really paying attention to much outside the district.
We did just see the 971 reveal drop, so that was a fun robot for some fun wrist action on their pivoting arm. So
on a different note, I have a friend from Michigan who's on Team 573 Mech Warriors down in the. I'll prove I'm from Michigan. Down here in Michigan by Detroit, they drove all the way up and all the way over near Wisconsin to Escanaba to play their district qualifier. I asked him why. He's like, we keep facing the killer bees. Everybody, he's like, let's try it up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's always something I've been curious about these districts where it's, oh yeah, we're just casually facing the Robo Wranglers at every event. Like how that must feel.
Well, that's where it really gets to what we were saying earlier: is that district points are district points. It doesn't matter where you got them.
Yep.
But yeah, if you're routinely playing those top caliber teams, it has to be a pain to.
Yeah. There was a guy I met in a different message board I'm involved with, and he happened to mentor a team out in California. I'm like, well, he always played against the Poofs, right? And it's like, you're like, if you don't get picked as a 3 bot, you're not going to Worlds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the challenges of first. But yeah, I'm interested in seeing some wacky robots this upcoming weekend, and if those wacky robots work or not. That's the real interesting part. But I guess any other thoughts before we wrap up? I think we're all squared away, but good luck to ourselves as well as everybody else this upcoming weekend. Because I
Can't wait
know
to
we're
hear
going to
next
need
week's wrap show here. Let's see.
And a quick apology to all those that are here for any ramblings or incoherent thoughts you heard from us. We, for whatever reason, decide to film these things starting at 10 p.m. at night. So it is what it is.
Kellen,
we'll be back next week with some more rambling. We hope you tune in.
Kellen, you mentioned at the beginning, not the views of our teams or sponsors. Where are we getting sponsors for this stuff?
Yeah.
I'm just curious about that.
If you host it, they will come. I think that's how these things work. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's work on some sponsors.
And this has been mentioned. We will take sponsorship in chocolate donuts. Looking at you, Joel. I'm looking at you.
Okay. So I'll just take, you don't have to get the whole sponsorship. I'll just take the donut. Let's do it. I like it.
I will work for food.
All right. Well, best of luck this upcoming weekend, PCH teams. We look forward to seeing you out there. But until then, we're out.
Parade wave.
See ya.